Hi there, welcome to QA Box Let's Test. If you have not already subscribed to this channel, kindly do so. And if you like the video, give them the thumbs up. Alright, so in the previous video, we talked about Sinon library, which we require in the JavaScript project to eliminate our dependencies. Alright, so then we talked about different test doubles that Sinon offers. And in this video, we are going to talk about the first one, which is a spy. Right, and first thing first, we have to install it, and we can install it using npm sinon. But hold on, you also have to install one more library, sinon chai, which provides you assertions. We have been using chai assertions this far, but to test these doubles, right, we require special kind of assertions. So sinon also comes in with built-in assertions. However, they are limited. So if you want to have complete suite from both Sinon and Chai, right? Go for Sinon Chai. All right, so it's installed now. Next thing is spies, right? So what is a test spy? So spies basically, which offers information about function calls without affecting their behavior. So spies are nothing, they are basically the wrapper functions, which offers information about function calls. And the important thing here is they do not change the behavior of the original function. Okay, so a test spy is a function that records arguments. So when the function is being invoked, what are the arguments being passed? What is the return value when the function is being called? What was the value of this? And also, any exceptions being thrown for all its calls. That's the job of a spy. And pretty much like, a CCTV is being installed, and that CCTV is watching everything. So who is entering, who is leaving, who is carrying what, and so on. Right? That's the job of a spy. So basically, CNN offers us two types of spy: anonymous functions, and then other for methods which are already existing in the software under test. Okay. So first one is how to create a spy of an anonymous function. Okay. So creating a spy as an anonymous function, basically when the behavior of the spied on function is not under test, you can use an anonymous function spy. That's where you have to use it. The spy won't do anything except record information about its call. A common use case of this type of spy is testing how a function handles a callback. And let's imagine this is the function, pretty simple straightforward function, test my callback, which has got three arguments, a, b, and a callback. And then in the body we are just calling that callback and passing in those two arguments, a and b. All right, so when you have to write a test case for that, so this is how you are going to do it. So you're going to first create a spy using sinon.spy, and then you are going to spy this method, right? So what we are doing in line number 2 here is we are just invoking that method and passing in that spy, and then we are asserting using sinon assertion library, sinon.assert, right, called once. So we are checking that when we invoke this function, this callback is being called once. All right, and then we are checking that when this spy is being called, it is being provided these two values, 10 and 20. All right, so this is your what, this is your arrange. Okay, this section is your act, and these two are your assertions, right? So we are following the triple A model here. All right, so the second one is creating a spy that wraps already existing method in the system under test. All right, and then there are a lot of variations, if you could see. So first one is, and this is how we are going to create the spy. So we're going to say where spy, const spy, or let spy, whatever we have to use. So I usually prefer let over where. So this particular function wraps the function in a spy, so you can pass this spy where the original function would otherwise be passed when you need to verify how the function is being used. Okay, so other type is when we are passing the object and specifying the method. So creates a spy for object.method and replaces the original method with the spy. An exception is thrown if the property is not already a function. The spy acts exactly like the original method in all cases. The original method can be restored, and that's very important, right? We have to restore the spy. So the original method can be restored by calling object.method.restore, right? That's how we are going to restore. The returned spy is the function object which replace the original method. Okay, so the next one is your properties, right? So when you create and we are going to see an example of this type as well. So when you create a class, you use getter and setters, right, for setting up the property in a class. So this create a spy for the property object.property, which replaces the descriptor with an equivalent where each specified accessor has been wrapped as a spy. Okay, so that's another example of, I guess, type 2, when we have this function here, right? It is just accepting two arguments and then those adding those arguments, and herein we are creating this is the object which has got this method. All right, so we are passing in the object and the method, and again then we're doing, this is basic arrange, then we are invoking this function and assert, we are asserting this, right? So let's now move on to the actual code part, and let's write all this up. So this is our calculator class that we have seen in our previous video for writing basic test cases. All I've added in here is this constructor and the getters and setters because we have to work on this, and one more method, myCalc. All right, so now we are going to start with first one, which is the anonymous function code. All right, so how are we going to write that? So again, the first thing we have to do is we have to use the describe and it. All right, so let's use that describe and then let's give it a name. So we are going to work with callback, so let's say let's call it spy calculator. Okay, so spy calculator method callbacks test, and the first thing that we are going to do is we are going to test this method. All right, should get callback once. All right, that's our test case. Okay, so first thing first, what we have to do, so we have to create a spy. So we are going to say const spy is equal to, so here what all I have done is I've imported Sinon, and this is how you are going to set up your Sinon chai. Okay, so here we are going to say const spy is equal to Sinon dot spy. That's all. That's your arrange. Okay, so the next thing that you have to do is you have to act. And how are we going to do that? We are going to say myCalc dot myCalc, right? So this is what we are going to invoke, and what do we have to do here? One, two, and we have to pass in the callback, and instead of that callback we are going to pass the spy that we just created. Okay, so this is what we are going to do. The next thing that we are going to then do is assert, and the assertion would be, so we're going to say Sinon dot assert, right, and we are going to say called once. And if you could see, all these methods are available in here. All right, you can write your session on any of these, right? Call order, called on, called once with exactly, called twice, called thrice, and so on. And also, like, if you go to Sinon spy documentation to this particular page, then you will find documentation about, all these different properties that are available to the spy object. Okay, so you can just work on these. All right. So we are going to say sinon.called once. All right. So this is what we are going to use, and we are going to say spy. All right. So we are going to run this and see whether this will work or not. And this is, by the way, our Sinon assertion. Okay. So let me just use the dot only, save it, and open the terminal, run it, npm test. Right, so it's passing. Right, and it is very important that we ensure that our test case fail when it should fail. So what we are going to do is we are going to call it once more. So now it will fail because we have invoked this spy callback twice, but here we are asserting that this method, this callback, is invoked or called only once, so this will fail now. Right, so let us look at the assertion. Right, so expected spy to be called once but was called twice. So what you can do here is you can write this assertion here, and here we can say called twice. All right, and let's run this, and this time it would pass. However, there are some people who says that don't write two assertion within the single test case. So I leave this on you to decide. All right, but here all I'm trying to show is that there are few things that you can do, like call once, call twice, and there's one more we are going to test in here, and we are going to check the argument part. And how can we do that? We can say sinon dot assert, right, dot called with. Okay, and we can say call with exactly, right, and we can pass in spy and the values. All right, so we can pass in the values 1 and 2. All right, so let me execute this once more. So it is still passing since we provided these two values while invoking our myCalc function, and these values are then passed internally to the callback. Right, that's our logic. If I change it to 10, right, and let me execute this again. So now this will fail and tells you why. So it was expecting 1 but received 10. Let's now cover the second one, wherein we have a method. All right, so let us let me take a copy of this. Right, so let us modify this to our requirements. So we have to create the spy on some method which belongs to myCalc object, and the way you are going to do is like this. First you're going to pass in the object, then you're going to pass in the name of the method. Okay, so your spy is created. Now you're going to invoke that method, all right, by this. And let me get rid of this because it's already explained in the last example. So now we are going to run this assertion. All right, sinon.assert called once spy, and then the next one is called with. All right, last time we covered called with exactly, this time let's do call with, and we are going to say 1 and 2. So these are the values that we are passing. Okay, all right, so now let us execute this once and see if everything works. All right, so our test case is passing. However, we have to change the name of this test case. So should call some ones, let's say with args 1 and 2. Okay, so this is the name of our test case. However, if you could see that, we are creating the spy in both of these. So let's imagine you have one more test cases under this, all right? And this time what you're doing is, so you're saying called with args 10 and 20. Okay, so here what you're doing is you're repeating this code. That's problem number one, right? How can we fix that? We know how to fix that, right, using hooks. So we are going to say before each, okay, and herein we are going to use this. Okay, so we are going to cut this from both the places and would paste it here. Okay, now if we run this, it will not work because the scope of this variable would be limited to this. All right, so now you have to make a little change. So you have to say let spy, all right, and then it is available to this describe block, and now everything would work. That's one thing that we have to do. The other thing that we have to do is, and we talked about it, that it is important to restore the method once everything is being done. All right, so we have to say after each, and we are going to say spy dot restore. Okay, so that in any of your test cases after this, if you are referring to the original method, you will have access to the original method. All right, so this is what we are going to do. Let me now change it to 10 and 20 in here and execute both our test cases. I hope everything would work. If not, we'll fix them. All right, so both of our test cases are passed, and if we can say here, let's say twice, it would fail. So always good to check that your test cases are failing as well, and they should. All right, so expected sum to be called twice but called only once. All right, so we have covered the methods as well, and now we are going to move towards the properties getter and setter. So let me just skip this. Right, let me just take a copy of this, and this time we are going to say spy calculator property getter and setter test. Getter and setter test. All right, so what are the properties we have inside the calculator class? So we have this calc property, right, which we are getting and setting. All right, so let's write some basic test cases. So again, we are going to use this. However, this time instead of this method, we have to mention the property. And what is the name of the property in our case? It's calc. All right, and which properties do you want to assert? So I want to assert both get and set, as you could see. So it's an array, so I want to say both get and set. All right, so this is how I'm going to create the spy on properties. So now let's write the test cases. I just need one, so let me get rid of the one. So arrange is already done in the before each, and act would be nothing in this case, not at this point of time. We are going to first test the get, and then we are going to set. So in set we are going to act first. So first thing first, let's check the assert, and that would be, and now we are going to use the expect to be equal, yeah, this one. And what value we have to test? So we have to say mycalc dot calc, right, to equal. So this is the value that we set while creating the object. So let us assert that. All right, this is our normal chai assertion. Right, second thing that we have to do is we have to say sinon dot assert, all right, dot called once. And what is being called once? This property, right? So now we are going to spy. Which property? We are going to say spy dot get. So get is being called once here, all right? So this should give us true, means that this assertion should pass. Second one is what we are going to say. We are going to now act and we are going to say my calc dot this, and let me use some other company which makes calculator genuine, all right? And then we are going to write our assertion, which is going to be sinon dot assert dot called once, and this time it is going to be spy dot set. Okay, instead of get we have set it here, all right? So we are going to call this, and then we are going to check whether it is being updated or not, all right? So then it's going to be now genuine. We save this and let us run this. So all other are skipped, so only this one would be executed. So let me run this again. All right, so one is passing spy calculator property getter and setters, all right? And so we did not change the name of the test cases, so that's fine. You can say getter and setter test, all right? And same way, if we can fail this by changing this once to twice, all right? We can run this and let's see if it fails this time. Great. So that's how you can create spies on callbacks, on a method of an object, or on the getters and setters of an object. Okay. And for more information, watch out these properties, and also this link sinon.org release latest assertions. Uh, these are the built-in Sinon assertions. When you use the chai assertions, right, all you get is, whether true is equal to true or not. It does not tell you what exact error is being raised. So when an assertion is failed, usually we get, okay, why the assertion is failed. So assertion error information is not being provided, right? Now that, as you could see, the advantage of using the assertion is that failed exceptions on stubs and spies can be expressed directly as assertion failures with detail in helpful error messages. All right. So make sure that you understand chai, Sinan, and Sinan chai, so that you can use these as per your requirement. Right. Thank you so much.